Stimulus checks are back on the table. We're hearing about fourth federal level stimulus checks of $1,000 to go out to everyone in the nation. We're also hearing about a call for reoccurring monthly gas stimulus checks to go out to everybody in the nation. Well, you guys, I've got a ton of updates for you. You're gonna get you caught up on the latest. This is all being brought back to the forefront right now as we're getting closer to those midterm elections. Now, first off, you guys, take a look at this. This list is going to be covering some of the states sending out checks very soon. Now, also, this list is not covered them all here on the channel. I do a ton of research to make sure you know the latest, and take a look at this also. $800 stimulus checks going out in Colorado. I'm gonna let you know who exactly qualifies. Also, stimulus $500 refund supported for Missouri residents as well. So another one in Missouri, and take a look at this one of the largest we've seen so far. Wolf community leaders seek to $1,000 payments for Pennsylvania. And that is right, we heard him propose $2,000 checks. Well, he's still sticking with it, saying we've got a ton of excess funds. Send it out to the people of Pennsylvania. Make sure they've got money, $2,000 stimulus checks. Now, also those on SSI, SSDI Social Security payments need to be $540 more today to equal the value that they received in the year 2000. And they're saying we need to bump it up significantly with everything going on with inflation. This is back in 2020. In March, Schumer, Warren, and Wyden, they unveiled a plan to increase benefits by $200 per month for those on Social Security benefits, and that never came to fruition. And that was one of the things that Biden ran his campaign on, supporting the call for an additional $200 per month. Now, that's not the only thing, as you guys know, for federal level stimulus checks of $2,000. Critics say that Biden's pandemic relief plan broke his promise of $2,000 stimulus checks. He has said there were going to be those checks coming, and then when it came to pass, it was $1,400 third checks. And a lot of people are saying, what about those $2,000 checks? Well, now about a year later, we're hearing that they are come back on the table for consideration right before the midterm elections. Link in the description below to this article that came out that says Wolf community leaders seek to $1,000 payments for Pennsylvanians. And this is the second largest stimulus check for a state that we have seen so far, only by Alaska that has suggested $5,500 checks. Now this one says Governor Tom Wolf, lawmakers and community leaders are calling on the General Assembly to pass legislation that will send checks of up to $2,000 to millions of Pennsylvanians. Now, earlier this year, Wolf unveiled a $1.7 billion proposal aimed at helping communities recover from the pandemic through the American Rescue Plan dollars. And yes, that American Rescue Plan, the last stimulus package from March of 2021, there were $350 billion worth of funds for states to use. And now, over the year later, states are finally taking that money and they're passing stimulus packages. And as you can see here, in many cases, their own stimulus checks. Now, part of that plan included $500 million Pennsylvania Opportunity Program, which could provide direct payments for households with an income of $80,000 or less. So that is the income eligibility requirement. And we're said that with inflation climbing, more Pennsylvanians are experiencing financial insecurity, and we're hearing that inflation doesn't look like it's going to be stopping anytime soon, which is why Congress has taken in consideration more stimulus now. Next, $500 refund supported for Missouri residents. Now, new stimulus tax rebate plan supported by the Senate in Missouri could bring residents checks worth $500 per person. Now, who is going to be eligible for this refund? Well, individuals earning under $150,000 or married couples making less than $300,000 will qualify. Individuals will see payments worth $500, while married couples will see $1,000 checks. Refunds may be prorated to stay under a $500 million cap. So that is the amount allocated for this benefit. Now, also linked in the description below to this next one, $800 stimulus check going out in Colorado who qualifies. While Colorado tax filers will receive $100 stimulus checks this year, Colorado residents could find a $800 check in the mail by late summer thanks to the Taxpayer Bill of Rights or table. And the plan was announced in late April by the state legislature. Now listen to this. Every taxpayer in the state will receive a stimulus check refund, but that doesn't mean that residents will receive it every single year. The checks are only going to be handed out when the state has a budget surplus, and there is no reasonable way of spending the money to improve public services. Now let's dive into this Yahoo Finance article that's going to be covering an assortment of different states that have either passed or are in the process of passing stimulus checks. And first up, we have California. The state of California has run a surplus for the past 2 years, and residents have benefited from it, and we've heard of the Golden State stimulus checks that have gone out. Now we're also hearing that of states' gas stimulus checks where you could receive $400 per registered vehicle for up to 2 vehicles, meaning $800 per person. Also, Illinois is also providing a stimulus check. Democrats in Illinois are proposing stimulus checks that would arrive in residents' mailboxes by September, amounting to $100 per person and $50 per child per household. The proposal would also provide $300 in property tax relief checks as well. So different checks happening in Illinois. Idaho residents in Idaho will get rebate checks or direct deposits amounting to the greater of 12% of their 2020 taxes, or $75. Maine. The governor of Maine, Janet Mills, has proposed sending state residents stimulus checks of $850. The money will come from states' $682 million surplus, just like Colorado. New Mexico residents who file joint returns and have an income under $150,000 will receive a one-time tax rebate of $500. Single filers with an income of under $75,000 a year are going to be eligible for $250 rebates, and other credits include $1,000 for full-time hospital nurses, a refundable child tax credit of $175 per child, a 3-year partial income tax exemption for military retirees, and an extension of the solar market tax credit equal to 10% of qualifying purchases and installation costs. So a ton of stimulus provisions happening in New Mexico. Indiana lawmakers approved an extension of the state's 125 stimulus payments to residents to make about 450,000 low-income residents also eligible as well. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp recently signed a stimulus payment for Georgia residents into law. These one-time refunds will provide $250 for single taxpayers and for $375 for heads of households and $500 for joint filers. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy has proposed sending $500 stimulus checks to low-earning taxpayers who filed using a tax identification number rather than social security numbers. In an effort to include undocumented immigrants for stimulus checks, Virginia legislators are hashing out the details of a potential $300 stimulus checks for taxpayers as well. New York Governor Kathy Hutchinson has proposed property tax rebates ranging from about $425 to $975 for low and middle income households in the state. In addition, other actions including tax reliefs for businesses. The state is also implementing the suspension of the state's tax on motor fuel through December and Hawaii on January. Governor David Eagle proposed a $100 refund for all taxpayers and dependents in April, and the White House Committee of Finance approving $300 checks for taxpayers earning less than $100,000 and $100 for those making more than that. So those are some of the states right now that have either approved or are in the process of providing stimulus checks on the state level.